give our round of applause for our special guest this evening, Miss Deborah Watson-Triggs. Yay! Come on, come on for real, ladies. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yes,
Good
yes, yes.
evening, good evening, Deborah. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, but Dawn is going to spotlight you. We're going to bring you up front, and then we're going to share your story, your challenges, your victories, and secrets to success. Are
Okay.
you gonna do that, Dawn, or do I need to do it? Oh, there we go. There she goes. So great, fantastic. Thank you. So where do we start? Your story. Okay, so Dawn, what was the question that was asked? And then we have the answer. Who knew the answer for the question that we asked in regards to our Deborah tonight?
I'm not sure if anyone put the answer for Deborah's answer, but they were asked that for their own advice. So I'm not sure. I didn't check the chat. I didn't ask them to.
Let's share
Deborah's
Let's
in
share it.
there.
So ladies that are on the line now, tell who knows what was that Deborah's father told her. What Deborah's father told her.
I'll answer. She was stating that her dad, like when they were little, her siblings were little, they were playing games. Her dad stopped them before rushed to remember to always read the instructions first. So with it, so that's why it's always read is always important. So
That's what we had on the cover. If you can read, or in her quote is, if your father said, if you can read, you can do anything. Remember you shared that, Deborah?
Yes, I do, and that's true. If you can read, you can do anything. And sometimes people don't think all the things that they can do, but if you can read about it, you know, you can research it, you can almost do anything. And he also said you can do anything anybody else can do.
Fantastic. So tell us your story. Was your father, your brother, sister, father, mother? Just tell us a little about where you were born, what inspired you to even get into the business world at all.
Well, I was born in Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles, and my parents were the parents of the whole block. In other words, there were a lot of single parents, and my father served as the coach for the boys, and my mother was the nurturer for all the girls on the block. And they were just telling me how instrumental my parents were to them. My father taught some of the guys how to tie their first tie. My mother taught all the girls how to dance. So, you know, it was just something that my parents did, and a responsibility that they took upon in our community, which I believe community is extremely important.
So you have brothers and sisters? Or are you the only child?
I do. No, I'm not the only child. It's 4 of us. I have an older brother and 3 other, actually, I'm the third, but 2 other siblings. So it's 4 of us.
4 of you, fantastic. And did everybody venture into a professional career, or there's some musicians, some creatives, or was everyone?
You know, we're all creative, and I was thinking about Regina. She does arts and crafts and creative stuff. I also can do arts and crafts. My brother is he lays tile. So, or he did, because he had a stroke, so he can't do that anymore. But he was very creative and done some of the best tile work that you've ever seen in some homes. So he does that, and my sister also can do it because he taught my sister how to do it. But my father was not a laborer. He worked for the state of California for 43 years as a rehabilitation counselor helping families.
And your mom?
My mom, believe it or not, she was a home mom for the first 4 years. It's a 4-year difference between the 2 older kids and the younger kids. So she stayed at home with us and then went to work. And so the older kids took care of the younger 2 kids. So she ended up working for the aerospace industry.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that was your story. So when you went to school.
Oh, yeah.
I know. But what was your desire? Where did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I started school, I wanted to take accounting. Then I love business. And when you're small, your parents are teaching you how to write checks, or they're teaching you how to pay the bills, you know, as far as going to the Department of Water and Power, or the gas company, and you're learning. And when you're there with your mom, I'm looking at how to complete applications, and I'm writing. I'm one of those bad kids that have literature on the counter, and I read it and try to write it and try to do what they did at the counter. So I did a lot of that. So I think doing business was something that came natural for me, basically because the interaction that my parents had and the experience that I had with them growing up.
So when you decided you want to be an accountant, so when did you make the change? When did you decide to get into, I know I met you in the banking industry.
Correct.
Great memories when you were with Union Bank. And then the reason why I'm such an advocate for you, because you've supported us. I was Empower Women. I know that you would, we would go to the bank after hours. You'd open the bank after hours, and you'd have these ladies came in after work, and they were hungry and thirsty, and you had a full buffet of different foods and snacks and drinks. And we held our meetings there late at night sometimes, and then you would close it up, and then you would come to our events. I mean, so that was that kind of support that you advocated for us in the bank. But tell me how you even got to that point. Like, was it from school that you were recruited to the bank? And
You know what? I answered an ad. They were looking for a secretary, believe it or not. And my dad told me, you need to learn how to type. And back then, I could type over 60 words a minute, sometimes 70 words a minute on a good day. And I just love to type. And like I said, do paperwork all the time. And so there was an ad. And while I was going to college, I wanted to get a job. And some people, their first job is to be a teller or something like that. But I didn't want to be a teller. I wanted to be a secretary. So when I became a secretary, and it was just an assistant to the secretary, basically, all I did was type up the journals, the GLs for them. And because I liked accounting, when the officers would give me their GLs to balance for the day, I would literally balance them for them. They would be all out. The debits and credits wouldn't match. And I go, I think you're out. I think you did it. So I would share that with them. And so they would notice that I was very familiar with what I was doing. The other thing my job was to put, believe it or not, procedure manuals together. I don't know if you guys remember that. If you would go to the bank back in the day, I have over 35 years at the bank, there would be procedure manuals on the desk, and my job was to keep them up to date. Well, because they all look alike, and I would have to read them in order to find out which ones I needed to replace. So I would read all the manuals. Remember, your dad said, if you read, you can do anything. I wanted to not just put manuals in place. I wanted to read it so I can understand it. So when we had staff meetings, people would ask questions about a new procedure, and I was the one who raised my hand and answered all the questions all the time. And I think people, especially people who are supervisors or head of departments, they say, this girl is, something's why she's not normal. This is not normal. So anyway, I think they asked me to, become an officer. So I went from being a secretary to an officer, going through procedures and things of that nature. So I was in charge of maybe, say, give you an example, because the officers work at different desks. So there would maybe be a American Express desk. Do you guys remember American Express back in the day?
yes.
And there was cashier's desk, and there was all these different desks. So as an officer, one person would be in charge of these GLs. There are GLs, these desks. And so they were behind in their reconciling of American Express. They sent me in the dungeon, probably somewhere where I was young enough to not even know the difference between all the dust that was in the dungeon, but to reconcile their American Express that's been out of balance for 10 years. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I reconciled their whole American Express after 10 years. So things like that, I was challenged, and I wanted to take on the challenge and do different things. And it just kind of led me to become a manager. So at 25, I was a branch manager. I was one of the youngest branch managers for a large banking organization. And I just thought banking is going to be my career. I learned all about it. I knew all the procedures from reading it. I'm very comfortable in that environment. And they give you additional training while you're on the job and things of that nature. I finished school, and so just one thing led to another. And I thought that banking, working in a corporation, would be something that I would be doing for the rest of my life. One thing led to another. From operations, I went into sales, which you have to learn about mortgage loans. And then from mortgage loans, I went into investments. And then from investments, insurance, annuities, and things of that nature. So I feel that I had a good sense of what's going on in the business field in that way.
I would agree. Working all those different departments, I'm like, I'm trying to remember what you did, much less what you probably, I can imagine what's inside your head. You know, and the thing is, I think you point out a couple of things that are valuable, is that you went in not just wanting to be, you know, a teller. I think some people have been a teller, which is no problem with that because we need tellers, and it's a valuable situation. But you went in with the idea that we talked about aiming high.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Right.
that's our, you know, thought for tonight, Amy, how you aimed higher than that, you know, and this is an example of, and all it took was you to be able to study, to be able to read and be conscientious about it, to be able to achieve that. So it wasn't such a difficult navigation through the corporate structure. What was it about the corporate structure that you really enjoyed?
Well, the corporate structure is security, obviously, right? I enjoyed climbing up the corporate ladder. I enjoyed networking with a lot of different people. I like to be part of something I can contribute back to. I was comfortable in banking. I had 35 years in banking. I was extremely comfortable. I knew my craft. I knew everything about it backwards and forwards. I think that, you know, if you're going to do something, you really need to investigate what you're doing. I'm the type that wants to really understand what I'm doing, opposed to just jumping into something. So I think with that, it led me to climb the corporate ladder a lot quicker and being a resource, you know, for others.
What did you not like about the corporate structure?
I didn't realize until I became an entrepreneur how restricted you are. You know, sometimes you think you're in an environment and you know it, and this is what you're going to do, but there's so much more than just what you're doing. I mean, I remember having the keys to the bank and, you know, opening the bank and turning off the alarm and things of that nature. I could do it with my eyes closed. I've been doing it so long, you know, and what's going on and balancing tellers and helping people with sales and doing loans and business loans and things of that nature. But at that time, I was thinking, this is not challenging for me anymore because I can do it with my eyes closed. You know, this is not something that's giving me more. And I wanted to have a bigger impact than the customers just coming every day and opening the doors and making sure the customer service levels are high, which is always important. And the same business plan that I had, I just changed the date, you know, just do the same thing year after year after year. And it got you know, I'm not saying that it created a good environment for me. I have a pension, it's nice. But if you want to aim high, as you were saying, you might want to find something else that you could do, or just see if there's something else out there that you can do.
Well, you know, you mentioned that you were climbing the corporate ladder, and that was, I don't remember how long ago, it was a while ago. There's a lot of talk about that it's difficult as a woman to climb corporate ladders, that it's difficult as a minority to climb corporate ladders. You have peers, you have seniors that can kind of sometimes block or try to create, you know, a glass ceiling that you need to work hard to break. Did you encounter any of that? Or, you know?
I did. And, you know, I'm glad you asked that question because women need to really understand how important it is. Once you have knowledge and you obtain knowledge and people see who you are, they're sometimes can be threatened by your ability. And, you know, it's only so many positions at the top, which is unfortunate. But when you're looked upon as some growing person, and you might have a whole advocate of individuals that want you to grow, but then you might have somebody on the other side that's trying to stop that growth. And I encountered that, and I don't know why, but they wanted to stop because they put me at the main office that I worked in an area that was very prominent. And I was very proud, and we won Brand of the Year and we won this, but I had a person who was over me that was frightened that I would take her job. And I kept saying, no, I just want to do my job. I don't want your job. I just like what I'm doing right now. But in her mind, through all the accolades and all the attention that I got, she was threatened by me. Like I was one of the ones that had the larger business loans in the whole entire bank. Even the private bank didn't do a $17 million business loan, but the person walked in and I did a $17 million. And it's just, you know, something that happens. And then I carried it through from its infancy to 7 months later, funding a hospital, which turned out really nice, you know. But, you know, things like that, people don't know, people don't want to see you advance. Some people can stop you. So you have to decide, do you still want to continue to fight, or do you want to do something else? Because, you know, this is just a waste of time. You might want to do something else.
So what went through your mind? What made you decide that you didn't want to fight? And did you fight? And how long did you fight? And how far did you
Well,
fight?
I did fight and I won, obviously. In other words, you know, the CEO said Deborah's going to get credit for this business loan. I mean, there's no argument. But I think I didn't want to be a target. It wasn't like I wasn't going to get the commission that I was supposed to get from it, or my branch was not going to get, you know, like we have, each branch has goals. And when your branch meets the goals, you get to retain that goal for 5 years. So if I did a $17 million loan, all the interest that came out of that loan will get credited to my cost center, to my branch. And so I get the residuals from that every single solitary year, which means I'm making my goal without having to do any new business, you know, and any new business I did is on top of the goal that I've already. So I guess what I decided was, even though I won, this person was not going to leave me alone. Now it's even worse that I'm winning and I get accolades and there's people support me, but she just has a personal problem. So I just didn't want to be a target anymore. I want to be politically correct. I want to do all the right things. I just want to help people. And, you know, I just decided opportunity came. That's basically what it was. It wasn't that I had decided to leave. It was just like I could retire because I have a pension and I can do something else and still provide the services that I offer in another area.
You know, and that's really important for everyone to kind of take a moment, you know, and say that, you know, is it time to pivot? You know, is it time? Have you gotten as far as you're going to get, whether you're working for a corporation or whether you're doing something independently? Do you feel that you've taken your business as far as you can? Do you feel you've taken your position as far as you can? And if you feel that way and you have actually done that, then what's next? You know, sometimes people say, okay, what's next is, do I go to another company or corporation and start over and work my way up there? We're all in that age range where, you know, there's only so much energy we have left and time that we want to devote to our business life. There is life after business. Or do you want to transition into being an entrepreneur? Take those skills, take that experience, take that exposure, take those resources you may have access to and transition into something on your own and take a look at those opportunities, because your opportunity knocked a couple times from what you told me. Yes.
Oh, yes. And networking, I know I networked a lot with you and your organization and networking with others, because like I said, we all have similar stories and we just want to help one another out. And I happen to be a fellow with the Southern California Leadership Network, and that cost the bank about $10,000 for me to become a fellow, and they paid for it. So they had very promise with me, you know. And during this fellowship, I met the vice president of State Farm. And that's how, and he kept saying, you need to be a State Farm agent. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to retire as a banker. But, you know, these things happen. And then you decide, maybe I could go out on my own. Maybe, you know, this is something that I could decide. And he just kept working with me, kept calling and say, you would be perfect. You have all the licenses. You're already successful. You have a client base, da, 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 da. And I at first, I didn't believe, you know, that I could do it because I've worked in the corporation for so long. And then I said, what is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to do to own my own franchise? He said, just do a business plan. Well, guess what? We do business plans every year at the bank. So I just took the business plan right off the shelf and changed the name and put State Farm. And I sent it to State Farm and they loved it. They said, well, this is the best business plan I've ever seen, but I've been doing that for years.
Some of us are still scratching their heads trying to figure out how to do a business plan. So we need to go on.
Yeah.
So that's what won them over. That was the beginning of.
Yeah. And then, of course, interviews and things of that nature, because, you know, you have to walk on water if you're going to be a State Farm agent. And you have to go through the background checks and all the licensings and things of that nature. And then deciding my thing was not necessarily if I could do the job, but if I'm going to be familiar to go out on my own, because then you have to do your own marketing. You have to do your brick and mortar. You have to get your computers. You got to find employees, and you want to know if you can afford there. There's a whole expense ratio that you have to figure out. And because I helped so many business owners, right? And I kind of knew what the whole deal is by asking the questions, reading about their business plan, because I did business loans, and understanding what they did, then I kind of had an idea, but I didn't necessarily was confident that I could actually do it on my own. I love helping people, but you don't know if you can actually do it yourself. And so I just took that leap of faith that we talked about and aimed high and said, you know what, if they can do it, like my dad said, you can do it too, you know? And I just went for it. I said, I don't know. I went for it. My kids were older. They were in college at the time, and I was going to become an empty nester pretty soon. And I had worked enough years so that I could have, a pension, and employee benefits were good. So I just decided to go ahead and do it. It kind of made sense. The only thing I had to worry about is employees, getting my own employees. But the great thing about it is I, I brought my employees with me.
Oh,
I brought
really?
my employees,
From
yeah, bank, yeah.
Oh, good, good.
Yes, yes, they had that much faith in me. So they work for me now. Mhm.
Fantastic. So how many years has it been?
It's been 9 years.
9 years. Well, I remember when you were just going through that stage. It's been a long time, but it was such a beautiful thing to see you make that transition. So
Yes,
now, like you say, you've got to get your own fax machine, and if it gets broke, you get fixed. Before you would just call somebody at the bank and someone would fix it.
right, right.
Before you have to get your own customers, before the customers just walk through the lobby and there they are, boom, for the most
Right.
part. So what was
Yeah, remember I had a budget at the bank that I was working with that you're familiar with, and I can have all these wonderful parties for you and invite people in and eat. But that was on the bank's dime, right? I had an expense account. But that's not true when you're owning your own business. That money comes out of your expenses.
so what was one of the biggest rude awakenings of then now entering that world of entrepreneurship?
um, expenses. How much? It's very expensive to start your own business. It's not cheap. It's not something that, you just think, oh, I can just do this like I've been doing. If you're coming from corporate and you get all this free, money, and then the money now is yours, and then you have to decide, do I get a business loan? Well, that's expensive. You have to pay the loan back. You got to get a brick and mortar where you have to pay a lease. That's expensive. Employees, you have to pay. Believe it or not, I used to help employees decide about their employee benefits at the bank, but now I have to pay for those benefits. I have to decide which benefits are more feasible for them and me and that I can afford. So, coming up with a 401k plan for them, all of that stuff takes a lot of work, and you might not necessarily be the expert in those areas. You might have to seek consultants. I know there's an accountant on your show tonight. I mean, she's consulting other business owners on the best way to manage their expenses and things of that nature. So, and getting tax deductions and things of that nature. So you have to consult with people that are in these areas to help you. So you're going to have to. Before, I didn't have to consult with other people, right? So now I have a whole business community, what we call the circle of influence, to help me make decisions about my business.
So we're speaking of challenges. Okay, so that was with the biggest challenge as far as the expenses. What about along the way mentally? As far as yes, I can, yes, I can. How do you keep, it's always different milestones, or different thresholds where it's like, okay, can I go bigger? Can I go further? Or just, there's always that chatter, that's just constant chatter in your own minds about doing this. Did you motivate yourself totally 100%, or did you have your husband or partners, or who motivated you to
Well,
move these challenges?
I find a lot of people who can motivate me. I mean, I try to get into groups. I have study groups that I've joined and things that nature motivate me, because women is very difficult and sometimes they don't have the support network. So Empower Women was one of them that helped me motivate myself and convince other women that they can own their own business. There's a banker that can help them. And then for me, the other agents that have their own business, I use them as a resource as well to help motivate me. Because sometimes you feel like you're on an island, you're by yourself and you're making decisions, and you don't necessarily know if the decisions you're making are going to have an impact, the impact that you want it to have. So you got to have a network, a group of people that you can, run things by, just to see if they experienced it or what did they do, and cut some corners, because research you could take longer than having somebody who's already done that, who knows a payroll company, who knows certain things, or someone who can do their 401k plan. So it's always best to have a network, a resource you can use.
I think that I've always been a believer of that. I always believe in networking. And people say, "Oh, Desiree, you believe so highly in networking because it's part of your business." No, I believe in networking because that has created my business. I have to maintain
Right.
businesses, and it has left me with less bruises. Like this is like you say, you can learn everything eventually yourself, go through the trials and tribulations, spending a lot of time and money. But if you have a network that you're connected with, no matter what capacity, then you're able to utilize those resources. That's why I'm encouraging everyone tonight to make sure you put your information in the chat. Make sure you reach out to somebody else
Right.
that's because you have such talent. Even if you don't know the talent that they can bring to your business, make it a point to at least say, I'm going to reach out to at least one person or two people so that I am going to build my network, because that's the person that can help you. Even if it's just, again, a word of advice, they'll be able to help you and resource. And that's how I move as fast and as fluently as I do through my businesses. It's by my network. Reach out to them all the time. So stories, challenges, victories. So what was the biggest victory? One of the biggest victories as far as being an entrepreneur? And I know there's been many, but what are some of the ones that?
Oh, many victories. I can't even pinpoint one, but I think some of the best victories are, again, which wasn't really a surprise for me because I came with a lot of experience, knowing banking and things of that nature. But I can say one of the victories is all of my clients transferred over to me. You know what I mean? They want to do business with me. So I think one of the victories is not necessarily me opening up an agency, but me having the personality that I have, that people want to still do business with, the transfer of credibility, I guess that's what you would say. So I would consider that a victory for everything that I built in the past, being able to transfer that and setting the expectation. The other victory is to maintain my business and keep it flowing and profitable. That considers to me as a victory, making good decisions to say that I'm a profitable business. So that's always a victory. Anytime you can make a profit, and I was scared at first. You know what I'm saying? I had this fear, and to know that I actually can hire employees, I can have a benefit plan, and I can pay for my brick and mortar and be profitable. That is a victory to me. And then lastly, I would say that being part of my community and State Farm looking at me as one of the, good agents that they have, and offering me to be part of the Harvard Review, or 10,000 Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses. I get a chance to continue to network and be part of these businesses, to continue to educate myself on different other sources, which is great to me because I'm a lifelong learner, and I just want to continue to be part of the learning community as much as I can.
So that's a fantastic, that's a mouthful. So I'm going to back up a little. So the victory one was being able to take your client, to be able to transfer your clients. I want to do that because what we do today in our business, no matter how large or how small it is, those are the rewards that you have. That's the reward that you got for doing all that, that PR. Not the PR, but all that public relations that you did with your people, not only with us, but with every client that you possibly had. So whatever you are, value that, because that is that you never know where you're going to go from there. And people remember you, and remember how you treated them, how you handled their accounts, or how you handled their business. So that's one thing that is invaluable, is being able to know that whatever you do, the people are going to follow you and work with you. The other thing you mentioned as far as being profitable. Okay, if you're not profitable as a business, then it's considered a hobby. And especially that's the real, and it's okay, because sometimes people love those hobbies. So there's nothing wrong with that. but do not go through your life thinking that, okay, I had this business and when it's not really profitable. And profitable is a good thing because profitable enables you to bless others, by having employees, giving them benefits, giving them jobs and so forth. So it's not just about you, because I hear some people say, well, I'm good. Well, okay, you're good. So what about your give back then? If you're good, then why aren't you giving, why can't you give back? Work a little harder or be profitable so that you can either give back to employees or give back to other women that want to support. So look at your P&Ls, look at your business, and then if you're not, then be able to consult, go to somebody, resource that can
Right.
and make it work. I mean, there's nothing, you don't know everything. You didn't know everything when you started this business, but I hear you saying you go to consultants, you go to resources, you go to people that are professionals to say, they look at your business, they'll look at your business plan, and they're able to tell you what's wrong, what's right, how to be able to make it work. Because every business, I believe, can be profitable. So the only thing that's making it non-profitable is the person that's leading it, and they're not utilizing what's available to them or not making sure that they find out what's available to them to do that, whether it's for a free, whether it's for a fee. You can find assistance to make your business profitable.
Yeah, one of the greatest things about being in banking and when we did business loans, this is another, example. You could go to people who underwrite the loans. You have access as a branch manager, vice president of the bank, and that's what I was. You can go to them and say, hey, what do they need to do to get this loan approved? Tell me all the things that they can do. If you're not going to approve it today, I want to go back to my customer and tell them all the steps that they need to take so that the next time we visit this, that they will be approved and having access to something like that. So that's why I'm saying, if your business is not profitable, go to a professional that was going to give you access or have access to a professional that can help you as to what you need to reconstruct or redo to make your business profitable.
Absolutely. Absolutely, your victories. So, and then part being successful. So did you aspire to be a big successful business, or did it just happen as a result of your hard work? So like, in other words, like my question is like, did you focus on saying, I want to make X amount of dollars this year, X amount of dollars that year? Was that in your business plan? Was that by design or by blessing?
I don't ever think I do know it's a blessing, but but I would say
A designed blessing?
yes, I wouldn't say that because I'm in the service business and I grew up in the service business, after 35 years of banking. So my thing was I like helping people and I'm going to help you. I'm going to figure it out how I can help you. I'm going to ask some people, I want to help this person. It's just natural for me. So and all you have to do is say, hey, I need your help. And people want to help because they want to be the savior. So I was that type. I had that mentality where I want to help you no matter where you are. If I can't help you, I'm going to find somebody else who can. But I had that mentality. And when you have that mentality, you're fighting for everyone that you're interacting with. They remember you just like you remember. Your name means something. They know what you're all about. And people just start sending people your way. You know what I mean? It just happens. So I never went in as how much money I can make. It was how many people I can help. And that translates into money. You know what I mean? It's an automatic thing. So I never go in thinking about money. I think about the product. I think about the service. I think about how I'm going to impact another person's life. How am I protecting their assets? And how am I protecting their business? Is it going to be worth it for them? Because that's my job. And it translates into profitability. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And that makes sense. No, because I think the thing is that the difference is some people say, okay, I hear people say, oh, I want to help people, whatever. And that kind of compromises or justifies them not making any profits for it. So what you're saying is that you can do both. You can help people and know that if you're helping them with the right structures and the right, business plan, whatever it is, that you can also be profitable. And you've heard that, heard people say, I'm helping people. My goal is to help people. Okay, that's great. But again, help yourself first. You got to make sure that you are able to keep those lights on and keep that.
If you're a consultant, and you're helping someone, then you should charge them for that service, right? And they're going to pay for it because they've been helped and it makes sense. So you're going to give value to that person for their consulting business, but that person is helping. So the first thing is, I'm going to help you. There's going to be a cost. You're either going to pay your consultant or you're going to pay someone else bigger fees or a penalty or some other problem later on. So, you have to weigh that and you have to decide, I want to pay for this consultation because it's going to help me.
Yeah, I always.
You don't work for free.
Yeah, you're gonna pay sooner or later, like I said. So you're gonna pay at the beginning to get the right information, or you're gonna pay at the end trying to clean up the bad information that
Right.
you.
You're going to get a tax penalty. You're going to get all kinds of stuff could happen.
And do we know? Okay, your secrets to success. So if you were to share a couple secrets to success, what would they be?
I would say stay humble. Stay knowledgeable about your craft, your field. Always be in a learning, try to learn more, get yourself inside a network. Don't become isolated. Be part of a network group. Be active, give back to your community.
So now you're not doing loans, but you are doing insurance. So do a shameful plug for our community so that, and then hopefully one day we'll have you do a coffee and conversation where we can rehash the conversation that we had about different types of insurances business should have and the types of insurances that, as far as their, a lot of businesses don't know the insurance they need and they should have, and they don't know the ones that are even optional, like umbrella insurance, like person insurance and things like that. And having a good insurance policy is just like having a good, phone policy? Attorney.
A good business insurance policy means that you get to protect your assets, something that you built and something that you want to make sure that's protected. I mean, there's not brick and mortar businesses anymore. Most people work from home, but you need to make sure that if you're doing a business at home, that you add a business endorsement for that type of business, on your homeowner's policy. You can do that, and that might be a cheaper way to go about making sure that you have insurance. If you have employees, you need workers' compensation, right? If you have employees, you need employer liability or professional liability. If you're in the service industry, you need errors and omissions. There's so many things that you need, and each package that you design is designed for your particular business to protect it. And you want to make sure that you do so. And if you're selling goods, you want to make sure you have the right type of insurance. The only way that you're going to find that out is to talk to an insurance agent and tell them what you're doing so that they can prepare a package for you. I can't give you like one particular type of insurance that you would need, but I might want to tell you what you may want to consider. But the insurance packages are designed based on your business. So, you have a SIC code or you have a type of business, the insurance policy is built based on the type of business you have.
So their information will be in the magazine, and so to reach out and and just be able to, now you have a contact, you have a resource. If you don't have, you have to have insurance, because otherwise everything you've been working for, it could be just like that gone. A lot of times a mad customer can take it away from you. And
exactly. There's liability. Yeah. And the other thing I want to say is when you become an entrepreneur, from the corporate world onto a entrepreneur or a small business, you don't have life insurance anymore. You used to have it because you had employee benefits, but you don't have it anymore. You don't have disability insurance anymore. And these things are so important that you get it, because if something were to happen and you're the main breadwinner and you become disabled, then who's going to pay the bills for you? There might be even key person insurance that you want, a key person that is the thinker, the think tank, the mastermind you guys discuss in a business. And if you lose them, if they die, then what's going to happen? It's going to take you 10 years to ramp up to find somebody who is equal to them. So you might need a key person insurance policy. There's so many things that you got to talk to an insurance agent about in regard to accomplish all of the goals that you need and protect what you have built.
Don't build it, not protect it, because otherwise you're building it. And then it comes to even a worse hobby. It's not even a hobby. It's not even a hobby, it's a bad habit. So I want to thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise. We definitely will follow you. And I would definitely like to be able to have a conversation where you do share with us all the different types of insurances that we should be looking at and looking. Okay. But until then, Thank you, thank you.